Hey there, and welcome to the December 2014 Xero Developer Hangout. My name is Ronan Quirk, Product Manager for the Xero Developer Platform, and beside me is Adam Moore, our Product Owner for the Core Accounting API, and managing the roadmap for that. Joining with me today on the call is Regan Ashworth up in Auckland. I've got James Coleman based in the UK, staying up late to be with us, and Sid Maestre in San Francisco as well, who's a developer relations manager there. So in today's Hangout, we want to cover a few bits and pieces. So I guess one of the first things we want to do is just have a look at some of the releases we've done in 2014, and also looking forward to some of the upcoming releases in 2015. And then I thought it might be nice for James to give us an update on the UK, Regan to give us an update in New Zealand, and Sid to give us an update in the US on what they've been up to this year, and looking forward to next year as well in terms of the partner program we have, API features generally, all that kind of good stuff, and also events that we're going to be running in those regions. Unfortunately, Riley James, who's based in Australia, has already hit the beach in Australia. They take their summer holidays pretty seriously over there, so he won't be unfortunately joining us, but we'll talk about some of the events that are coming up in Australia as well. So before we get started on talking about 2015, which is a year I thought was so far in the future we'd never reach it, but so we just want to talk about 2014 first, and just some of the progress we've made. So we had 46 API releases covering the Core Accounting API, and also our Australian Payroll API, and also our new US Payroll API. And there's now over 280 add-ons that can be integrated to the Xero platform. And a nice little stat that I pulled from our analytics on Xero.com was that the number of marketplace page views of our add-on marketplace on Xero.com was 1.6 million from January to today, the 23rd of December 2014. So this kind of shows you the level of interest and traction that the whole add-on ecosystem is having here at Xero. In terms of some cool vanity numbers, everybody likes to talk about the number of API requests that they're serving. You know, at the end of the day, that's not half as important as the number of customers and number of partners that we have actually using the platform. But it's always pretty interesting just to see sort of what sort of level the platform is now operating at. We served over 100 million requests in the last 30 days. What's really interesting from my point of view is that 30-day slice of 100 million compares to just over 300 million in 2013. So a massive increase in terms of the level of traffic that we're seeing on the API today. We now have 17 staff on the API and developer relations teams, and that's a 50% increase in the number of staff from last year. So a big investment from Xero in terms of the API and the ecosystem that goes with it, and that's kind of being seen as paying off in terms of that investment. We've seen over 150% increase in the number of add-ons that are being used in the Xero ecosystem. So it really validates that people are picking up these add-ons, and your hard work and our hard work is paying off. So thank you very much for that. Cool. So as we look forward, and so we've got more people on board, and it's a new year, we're going to be thinking about what we're going to be working on next year. I thought we might sort of just briefly explain to all those folks out there who are interested in us building feature X or feature Y some of the priorities that we assess when we're looking at how we spend our limited amount of resources on building features. So I guess one of the primary things that we think about in all things is ensuring that we're not going to break the current API, we're not going to break your integration by pulling in changes or accidentally making changes in terms of API behavior. I think that's super important from our point of view, because we recognize the level of investment that you as a developer have put into building to our API, and we certainly don't want to stuff that up. And that manifests itself in terms of not just being careful about how we build new features and not break old features, but also in terms of feature development within the main application as well. Adam, quite often you meet with the other teams that are working on sort of different areas that might end up touching on the API as well, to make sure that things don't break for us.
Yeah, that's right, because often behavior does change in the app as well, and we just have to make sure we manage that and keep the impact on existing API features as minimal as possible.
Yeah,
we've done pretty well so far, I think.
Yeah, I guess one example of us sort of being very careful about that is the 4 decimal place change, where we in the main accounting application, they supported 4 decimal places. So we kind of had to sort of drop what we were doing and make some changes to the API to ensure that within a couple of weeks we were supporting decimal places as well, just to ensure that there's real consistency there across the application. And again, another example of how we actually built that is that it's an opt-in parameter that you set on the query string to again ensure that if you've built your integration 2 years ago and you don't want to use 4DP, you can still use that. So that's I guess one example of making sure that there's consistency. Obviously, the guys on the line here, the developer relations team, James, Riley in Australia, and Regan and Sid, they're feeding in development priorities from the developers that they're in contact to on a daily basis as well, and some of our key partners. And obviously, our existing add-on partners are super important because they're the ones that we are sort of have many customers already on the platform, so we're listening to them. Our developer forum at xero.uservoice.com is obviously super important. It's a really good way for us to see lots of the ideas. It's also a great place for us to see some of the use cases if they've been articulated in the request as to exactly what a developer is after, because that's, again, as we're building a feature, it's always really useful to understand exactly why they're after a particular feature. And one of the other things, I guess, in any product manager's sort of tool set is the ability to opportunistically develop a feature as well. If it looks like something that might line up with another team in terms of what they're building, and we can pull that in quickly, or as the case may be in the future, as there's quite a few teams writing internal APIs, which we can surface a lot easier, we might sort of, while that particular feature might be a little bit lower down our overall prioritization sort of roadmap, if it looks like we can get that quickly and easier by working with a team immediately, we might juggle our priority list as well. And if all that fails, we put it down to a good old coin toss. But luckily, we haven't had to use that too much lately, Adam, have we?
No, nothing wrong with a good coin toss there.
Cool. So in terms of API releases, I thought, Adam, we'd maybe just cover what we've recently released, and then we'll talk about sort of our greatest hits for 2014.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, December, a little bit of a short month for us in being able to release, because we've got a close down period over the Christmas New Year's while the Aussies are on the beach and Kiwis huddle under blankets on the beach. So the main release we've done publicly is the release to delete payments. We did have a bit of an issue with that when we first released it, so we had to roll it back and re-release it.
Yeah.
What happened there was a lot of people were using the post method to create payments, which wasn't something we actually documented and fully supported, but it was part of a few wrapper libraries and things like that, and it turned out quite a few people were using that. So even though we still don't officially support it, we didn't want to break all those people, so we made sure that will continue to work alongside the new delete payments functionality.
Yep, another example, I guess, of just being careful that we don't break a lot of people as we build new features, or if we do, we make a change so that we don't keep breaking you. So also, I guess, we talked about the Files API, so that's in a limited release at the moment. If you're interested in checking out the Files API before it goes fully public in January, drop a line to api@xero.com and explain to us what you might be interested in doing, and we'll see if that's in the, we might be able to hook you up in advance.
Cool. So, the highlight reel. At the top of the list there, the brand new API that we released for US payroll. Was that October-ish time release? September, October.
Sid, do you want to go higher or lower with a thumbs up or thumbs down? Was it August? I think it was.
Stephen, time flies.
Yeah. Sid says August to time point anyway. So yeah, I guess it's still early days for that. So I guess what we've learned in the past is that we can talk about having an API sort of coming, but nobody really gets busy and gets building until you've actually got something out there. But I think we're looking forward to having a few integrations coming up. I don't want to ruin Sid's US update by tipping his hand, so I'll keep quiet from there on. Setup endpoint, Adam?
Yep, so allowing mainly conversion partners to bring in a whole chart of accounts along with conversion balances via the API. So that was quite a big one for us to get out. Quite a few tricky complications there, but it's out in the wild now, which is good. Sort of extending the bank transactions functionality with the new things that came out in Xero the last couple of years, so the prepayments, overpayments, bank transfer support. Massively expanding everything that you can attach a file to, so pretty much if you can name it in Xero, you can attach a file to it through the API now, which is really cool. A couple of, a lot of enhancements on contacts, but a couple just mentioning there is being able to archive your contacts and also create contact groups and organize contacts into contact groups. The long-awaited tracking categories finally came out, so the ability to create and update your tracking categories. And as Ronan already mentioned, the 4DP support for unit price, which one of those things sounds fairly straightforward on the face of it, but trying to maintain existing functionality with bringing this new behavior was quite tricky, but.
See the docs if you're interested in using that 4DP stuff.
Yep.
We still get the odd question as to how you actually implement that, but basically just a query string parameter. Cool.
So casting the crystal ball forward into 2015, not too far away, but so the things we're working on right now that we're looking at to sort of get out pretty quickly in the new year. Adding paging to bank transactions and the manual journals endpoint. So we've already got it on contacts and invoices, and it'll work in a very similar sort of way. With page size of 100 per page, and basically allowing you to get the line item details on both of those things, so you won't have to request individual ones.
Awesome.
Another sort of fairly highly requested one on user voice is being able to link journals from the journals endpoint back to their source documents. So, for instance, when you approve an invoice, that creates a journal behind the scenes in your general ledger. At the moment, there's no way to tell which invoice created that journal. So what we're going to do is add in an extra couple of elements. One, which is the actual GUID of the invoice, for example, and a type element, so you know that it is an invoice. So that should be pretty useful for people. And hopefully in January sometime we'll go public with the Files API.
Yeah. So you could say Christmas is coming. It's just a little bit late in terms of some of the goodies that we've got lined up. But yeah, I know definitely a lot of people have been asking for a long time for things like linking to source documents and journals, and there's a lot of people trying to extract bank transactions in bulk as well. So I'm glad we can get those things off the list. Awesome.
And yeah, further out into 2015, those new inventory fields, so the extra descriptions for purchases, purchase orders endpoint, quotes is coming in the app, and also we'll try and make that available through the API as soon as we can. API permissions, so some more granular permissions around APIs. Fixed assets. That's again getting a big overhaul in the app as well. Yeah,
so that's I guess an example of some of the API first stuff that we're doing at Xero as we build new features in particular. So the fixed assets team are kind of writing an internal API which both the web UI and the public API can then kind of consume and pass through. So that's an example as we try to run faster in terms of API feature development. Other teams will be providing us with APIs. I think that was kind of related to a question that we had at our last Hangout. So yeah, definitely some of that coming. It's really good to see other teams helping us out with building out those APIs so we can move much faster than we've had been able to in the past.
Cool. And yeah, SDKs, so extending us support or being more actively able to support a sort of a wider range of the wrapper that the library's running.
Yeah, that's been on my plate for a little while, and I haven't made as much progress on that as I'd like to just yet. But we definitely recognise that the SDKs in terms of quality are pretty spotty at the moment, and we just want to try and get everything up to a similar level. So if anybody is interested in participating, if on a sort of a contract basis, or just sort of keen to help out as they kind of add new features in themselves, please do get in contact with us, and we'll be more than happy to see what we can figure out. I guess each programming language is different, and we'll take a slightly different approach to each one, but we do want to make sure that everybody has a decent starting point with an SDK for the API.
Cool. And last on that list there is reports. So there's a new V2 reporting engine that's slowly rolling out new reports in the app over the last few months, and they'll continue to do that into next year. And we in the API team will have a look at how we can use those and expose those to the API.
Yeah, so those are most of the big things that we talked about sort of earlier on the year, the Developer Day in Sydney, and hopefully we're still on track, it looks like, to getting most of those done. Maybe not in the same order as we originally intended, but we're definitely seems like we're there or thereabouts, which is pretty good for a software company these days, let's be honest.
Cool.
Cool. And these guys are going to give a little bit more of an in-depth coverage of some of these events. But yeah, lots of XeroCons next year. So XeroCon London in February, Auckland in April, May, Denver in June, and Melbourne in August. So without further ado, I want to kick it over to James before he nods off. So James, thanks very much for staying up late. It's quite, as we're recording this, it is quite late in the UK, so appreciate you sticking with us. How are you doing?
No problem. I'm still awake, so it's all good.
That's the main thing.
So a little update on Xero in the UK. From the perspective of 2014, it's been a big year for Xero here in the UK, with some sort of significant events and a movement forward in the marketplace. So we had a new office in the UK, and we've grown our UK-based staff from 30 to around about 100 people, including me. So here to support the UK time zone. But the UK's seen some really good traction. We've got some significant movement with some good partnerships taking place, like the partnership with KPMG, and a lot of the UK banks are starting to take note of Xero, which is really good from a functionality point of view, so we can hopefully get more and more bank feeds direct into Xero. So all of that has helped support a growth for the year up to over 62,000 customers based in the UK, alongside 2,500 accounting partners. So it's a growing market. That's 100% year-on-year growth. So it's an attractive proposition for our add-on partners in terms of a strong marketplace, a strong customer base to address. I'm actually seeing some add-on partners entering overseas markets, which is quite interesting. So at XeroCon, we had in Sydney, XeroCon in August this year, we had some of the UK add-on partners actually make the trip over there to sort of reach out to the Australian market, which has been successful for them. And we're seeing some New Zealand-based and Australian-based add-on partners sort of coming over here, getting people on the ground to start addressing the UK market. So that's good to see.
Awesome.
Other interesting things, we ran a couple of add-on partner events quite recently, actually. It was the first time we'd done something like that in the UK. So they were quite successful events where we got some of our add-on partners together with our accounting partners and gave them the opportunity to get across the benefits of their solutions working with Xero. So hopefully we'll do a bit more of that in 2015. As Ronan just mentioned, we've got XeroCon London coming up in February, which is obviously a great platform for getting exposure to our accounting channel and just keeping up to speed with all things Xero in the UK. So we should end up with about 40 add-on partners attending and well over 800 accounting partners. So it will be our biggest UK XeroCon event so far. And I thought it's worth mentioning about the rest of world market. So we're currently at around 11,000 customers, which isn't massive in the scope of the overall Xero customer base, but that is almost 100% growth year on year, and there's plenty of rest of world add-on partners out there who are addressing that market. So Canada, South Africa, Singapore, those sorts of regions, and we're seeing strong growth in those areas as well.
Yeah, absolutely, James. So I guess rest of world, obviously having payroll partners in all those regions is definitely important. We already have some good ones on that front. Payments, tax filing, a lot of compliance kind of stuff where the Xero product may not completely suit somebody, sort of might not have all the features to complete the accounting that you might need for those specific regions. So those are the sort of markets that we'll be looking to partner in. And so you'll be along to your first XeroCon London in February?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Very good. And I believe we might have a special guest from the US coming over as well.
We can only hope so.
Yeah. Very good. So we should have at least 2 developer relations people on hand. So even if you're not an add-on partner that's exhibiting and that kind of thing, I'd certainly recommend you consider going along if it makes sense if you're in the UK, just to soak up the atmosphere, have a chat to some of our accountants and bookkeepers partners, and also to have a chat to some of the other add-on partners that will be exhibiting, because they'll be full of useful information in terms of how they're working the ecosystem and getting sales out of it. Awesome. Thanks, James. Next over to Regan up in Auckland, I think, isn't it? Hey, Regan.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
So, yeah, aside from spending the last 20 minutes trying to find a Santa hat, been busy this year getting the New Zealand market moving along. So we've really seen that things have matured here. So we're in the next phase of things. And so a big part of that has been our big business to small business integrations, which we've seen companies like Z Energy and Warehouse Stationery link through to Xero, and they're sending invoices directly into Xero and small business orgs. So that's seen a huge uptake. I think Z Energy, within a month of having their integration up and running, they had about 500 customers linked through to that. So that was a really big success story. And also, we've just done a lot of focus on vertical markets here, and a lot of really cool add-ons coming through for different verticals. So we've seen in Foodle, which has been a not-for-profit focused add-on, which has been really cool, and a couple of other ones in the freighting industry. I've got a few more lined up in the hospitality industry and a couple of other ones. And yeah, hoping to focus on that a little bit more next year as well. And then big event, XeroCon Auckland, which will be April 30th and May 1st. That's going to be huge and going to be a big opportunity for everybody to showcase their wares. So invites have gone out for that, and so if you've heard, that's great. Please get back to us as soon as you can, and we will be sending out a second round of invites shortly. So hold your horses if you haven't heard. And then following on from that, we'll be having some road shows later on in the year. We're still just working out exactly what those are going to be about, but rumor has it there may be some add-on participation there. So if you guys do want to get involved, drop me a line and we'll see what we can do, but no promises just yet, as it's all sort of just taking shape at the moment. The focus is very much on XeroCon.
Playing your cards close to your chest, I like it, Regan.
Got to be careful in this place, that's for sure.
Good stuff. So Regan, so now we've got sort of well over 100,000 customers in the New Zealand market, which is a pretty big proportion of the overall kind of small business sector here, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think you know, it's well over 20% and getting close to 30% now. So we're really, obviously very well known in New Zealand, which is the best thing about being part of this job. Everybody wants to deal with us, and it's really exciting place to be for add-on partners as well. Great place to launch a product, and definitely we've seen a lot of success for New Zealand-based add-on partners overseas as well. So if anyone's interested, then get in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Regan. All right, over to sunny San Francisco, or is it foggy San Francisco at the moment, Sid?
Oh, it was foggy this morning, but it's cleared up. I think it's looking nice today, cool and crisp.
Good stuff. So end of, I guess, Sid, so you've been here just over a year at Xero. So you started, I think, with sort of sometime November 2013. So just past your year anniversary, I think. Have things changed much, or is it just been going at a crazy pace ever since you started?
Oh, we've definitely had lots of changes, lots of things happening here in the U.S. At the end of last year, we launched the U.S. payroll product in 6 states, which was a really big thing for us. Our office has really been growing here. I joined when we moved into a new space, and I think we were in the mid-60s number of employees. We are now well over 100 folks here, and the actual payroll product, the core development team is out of the San Francisco office. So we've got a lot of developers here, as well as marketing and sales and all the other folks. We also have a few new Xero employees from one of our add-on partners, Monchilla, which we acquired as a way to accelerate our payroll product into all 50 states here. They had really cracked the tax compliance piece that really differs from state to state around payroll, and so we thought that was a really smart move, really good cultural fit, and we're all really happy to have them on board. We've also been pretty busy with some strategic partnerships. I think Square might be the best known one as far as just brand awareness and brand name here in the US. But Constant Contact, we think, was a pretty big deal. It introduced a new feature inside of the product, Smart Lists, and being able to take your contacts and do some marketing with them. And then H&R Block, which is a big strategic partnership for us around getting Xero in front of a lot of small businesses. So we've been continuing to grow here in the market, 22,000 customers, not too shabby. I know a lot of people are looking at the U.S. market and how we're comparing and competing with Intuit, and I definitely think that we're doing a good job holding our own. Especially when you look at any story around Intuit, whenever they talk about who they're competing with, Xero is pretty much the #2 player here in cloud accounting that's going up against QuickBooks. So I think that's really a testament to us making our mark here in the U.S. I've been pretty busy myself. I've certified 27 new add-ons in the U.S. Into our marketplace, and we've got a whole bunch that are on the verge of being certified, so filling some more product gaps in January and February of this year, so I'm pretty excited to get those out the door. And as Ronan's mentioned, XeroCon returns to the US in June. The 2nd to the 4th will be in Denver, and Ronan hasn't revealed if anyone's going to be joining me. So I don't know if you'll be hearing a British or a Kiwi accent when we're out there in Denver.
Yeah, I think the raffle is still open as to who we send across to Denver. I don't know. It might have to be whoever can ski the best if it's going to be in Denver. Oh no, so June. Pardon me, I keep forgetting that June is actually a summer month in the US. I've been living in New Zealand too long where the seasons are reversed. So skis are out, hiking is in.
Yep.
Yeah. Looks like Regan wants to go fishing. Interesting. Yeah, well, we'll see. But definitely looking forward to. Again, it's your first XeroCon, isn't it, Sid? So I think it's going to be great to actually meet in person so many of our add-on partners and also our accountants and bookkeepers that we kind of we were in email contact with or Twitter contact with and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to being instrumental in organizing the Developer Day. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll have more info on that in 2015. Oh, all right. You did call out one thing, which is that we haven't done, well, Regan mentioned it, that we haven't done a very good job of looking silly this festive season. So definitely going to have to make a much bigger effort next year for reindeer hats and Santa hats and all that kind of stuff. So apologies for that. That's my fault and poor organization. I think Sid's going to do something random here with one of those Google apps. So questions, do feel free to fire in any questions in the comment box underneath this video, tweet at Xero API, or of course ask in our developer forum as well. Other than that, it's probably just up to me to say thank you so much for everything you've done in 2014 around using the API, asking us for features, asking us questions, using an add-on, whatever it is, however you've been participating in the ecosystem, it's hugely appreciated by not just this team, but everybody here at Xero. So we just want to wish you a very happy and safe holiday season, and we'll look forward to see you again in 2015. So from us in Wellington, and from Sid in San Francisco, Regan in Auckland, and James somewhere in the middle of England, it's a very good afternoon, good evening, and good night. See you next time.